Hi, my name is Anne-Aelis Perfrement and I've recently completed the class Introduction to Databases as part of a Master of Computer Science at Monash University in Australia. And in less than 5 minutes, here is what I learned. I'll start with my experience of the subject, what I think we covered well and what I think was perhaps lacking from the course. This was the third subject I took in this master's degree and I probably wouldn't rank it in my top 2. We worked with Oracle SQL Developer, which was quite clunky and quite painful, and I had to do a group project that was challenging, but unfortunately not in an intellectual way. In this course, we also covered Git, and it is my humble opinion that that should not have been grouped into this subject. It could have been part of the Java programming class, for example, where it would probably have made more sense. In this class, what was really good was there was a strong focus on good design. My favourite engineering quote is, "Days of coding can save you hours of planning." Long story short, you should always really think through the design first and deal with the implementation later. The teacher really hammered this point home and I think that was great. Sadly, in this class, we did not cover industry use cases or the who of databases. What does a DBA do? What does an architect do? We also didn't cover data governance. We didn't discuss popular tools like Snowflake and cloud databases. We didn't cover data lakes or data marts, and somehow we didn't cover pricing of data, storage, and retrieval. Honestly, the thing that I found the saddest was that there was no discussion on how to make good decisions when deciding on a relational database tool. Of course, the math student in me hates that the answer is it depends, but I'm sure that there are rules of thumb and real life use cases that we could have covered. Before the class started, I considered whether I should get credit because I have worked with SQL and databases a lot. In my previous job, I worked on an enterprise data warehouse build for a government client. I've worked in a big data processing team, and in brief, most of my work has centered around building, fixing, running data pipelines. In fact, I spend so much time with data pipelines that I usually refer to my job as a data plumber. And a lot of the concepts that we covered in the course, like recovery and logs, I had previously covered in my AWS Associate Solutions Architect certification that I did in 2021. So perhaps that I came into this class with a little bit more experience than some of the other students. Prior to the class starting, I took some time to go through the course content with one of my mentors at work, and we decided that since I wasn't super confident on some of the concepts like normalization, conceptual and logical modeling, and transaction management, that maybe I should sign up for the class. So yes, I did, and here we are. Before I cover assessment, here is a rapid fire list of unrelated but fun things that I learned in this Intro to Databases course. First off, the dbengines.com website. This has a ranking of all the relational database tools that exist out there, and it's pretty much a guide to what's hot and what's not in industry. Second, relational algebra. So this is maybe the one time where my pure maths undergrad has actually been relevant. I'm pretty sure that not that many people in the class had a good idea as to what an algebra actually is. And funnily enough, when I was going down a Wikipedia black hole, I realized that the French Wikipedia page on relational algebra was just so much better and so much clearer than the English version. I have a habit of always checking pages on Wikipedia across multiple languages because it helps me get a better coverage of information, but in this instance, I found it quite funny just how jarring the difference in quality was. Finally, my favorite quote came from our textbook, which was Database Systems Design, Implementation and Management by Coronel and Morris. And in regards to how we should think about database design, the cute quote is, "All that is needed is there, and all that is there is needed." I really, really like this succinct summary of how we should go about putting together our databases. Assessment-wise, the mark distribution was 50% individual work and unfortunately 50% group work. This group project really tested me. I worked with 2 fellow students. One was fantastic, brilliant, very easy to work with, and I would happily work with him again. The other person, he who shall not be named, I'll choose to be kind and simply say that he didn't really contribute his fair share. Honestly, I was disappointed that in this course we're spending so much money, we're spending so much time, and we had to deal with something like this. It's disappointing that we were negatively impacted by another student. We had to do extra project work, but also extra emotional labour, because we all know that dealing with a difficult person can be quite exhausting. I, however, came out of this project with a much stronger appreciation for the high quality colleagues that I do have in my job, who I have the pleasure of working with every day, people who are hardworking, accountable, clever and respectful. Tools-wise, we use GitLab and Oracle SQL Developer, and for making conceptual and logical models we use Lucidchart. So I personally love drawing things out and understanding things visually, so this component of the course was a great joy for me. In terms of languages, we worked with SQL so that we could work with DDL and DML. We also briefly touched on NoSQL databases, and we played around with MongoDB a teeny tiny bit. To summarise, the completion of this class actually marks the quarter mark for this master's degree for me. I found this subject so-so, but luckily I actually really love relational databases, so I still had a pretty decent time. I came out with a HD, and the next class that I'll be taking is software engineering, so fingers crossed that goes really well and I'll have an update to post for that class.